Thursday night's games have been crazy. What do you think is going to happen? Actually, I have no clue. Welcome to TFB, the Fantasy Backpack, where we carry people to championships. Now, I'm going to do the Thursday night games separate from all the other games in terms of start-sits, because Thursday night games, they're their own entity. You have to decide and make a decision on whether you're going to play someone. I don't care how good the player is. It just doesn't feel good playing them on Thursday nights. Like a few weeks ago, Vikings-Rams, I sat most of my players. I ended up still winning, For the majority of people that scored in that game, high in that game, the people who had them still ended up winning because that week in fantasy football was crazy numbers. So, hey, Thursday nights, you used to fear Thursday nights. It used to be the time for running backs and defense to shine. All Thursday night games have been crazy, but I don't think we're going to have one in this one. Miami versus Houston. Sit, start. Let's get right into it. So let's start quarterbacks. I don't want to start either one of these guys. I don't want to start Deshaun Watson, and I don't want to start Brock Osweiler. No one's going to start Brock Osweiler, but maybe you have Deshaun Watson and you have to start him. If I could sit him, I would. He is injured. He had to take a 10-hour bus ride to the game because they didn't want him to fly because they were worried about his ribs and the compressed air. But he still started and played the entire game last game. So I don't want to start either one. Now, position players aren't dependent on what quarterbacks do. Quarterbacks are really dependent on what the other position players do in terms of whether they can catch it, blah, 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 blah. But position players can still get good fantasy numbers without relying on the quarterbacks. Now, Deshaun Watson, Houston. Miami's given up 286 passing yards a game this year. In the last 3 games, they've given up 247. So they're actually pretty good in terms of pass defense, but they average about a sack and a half a game. So they get no sacks, but they can actually cover, which leads itself that the wide receivers are going to be productive on whoever's playing them. It's just a matter of fact that they may or may not go nuts. It's whether they score touchdowns or not. So you're starting Hopkins every time, all the time. Hopkins was Odell before Odell. If Hopkins played in New York, he would be glorified as the greatest. It's just that he played in Houston where wide receivers go to be productive and just stay normal. See Andre Johnson. But Hopkins, you're starting. You saw what he did to Ramsey. He's just consistent. He's a starter. You don't touch him. You let him go. Will Fuller. Will Fuller was averaging a touchdown a game before Kiki QT came on the scene. The man was averaging a touchdown a game. And his game was developing such that you were saying he is no longer just a deep threat. He was running precise routes. He was catching underneath passes. It was great. Then Kiki came to play, and he was averaging three to 4 targets a game and not getting even 40 yards. Then, last game, Kiki gets hurt. Will Fuller. 8 targets, 6 receptions, 68 yards. So, Kiki is most likely not going to play. So you're starting Will Fuller for the fact that I think he is just going to be tremendous. I think he goes back to catching a touchdown and getting like 60 yards. So you're starting Will Fuller. Now, if Lamar Miller wasn't Lamar Miller, I would consider Lamar Miller the start of the week. But Lamar Miller has burned me so many times. I'm sure he's burnt you too. One of those things where players burn me more than 3 times, good luck. Bye. Don't want to hear it. Lamar Miller has such a cake matchup this week, it's impossible to ignore. Miami ranks 3rd in rush yards given up on the year. 957 rush yards given up on the year. 3rd. They've given up 171 rush yards on average the last 3 games. I'm going to say that again. 171 rush yards the last 3 games. Lamar Miller couldn't have a more cake matchup. Now, Lamar Miller might do Lamar Miller things and average 3.2 yards a game and finish with 70 yards and maybe he scores when he really should have 90 yards and possibly 2 touchdowns. But Lamar Miller might do Lamar Miller things, but the matchup sets up as such that you have to start him if you have him. You have to. I mean, I can't say start of the week, but he's Lamar Miller. If he wasn't, he would be start of the week. On the other side, Miami. Now, Houston defense is tops. Houston defense is giving up 237 passing yards a game. That's 12th in the NFL. You combine that with they're averaging 2.5 sacks a game. Miami is going into this game down 2 receivers, Stills and Wilson. They're putting Devontae Parker in the lineup now. Devontae Parker, yeah, the guy that was inactive but a healthy scratch the last game. So the last 3 games, Houston's given up 170 passing yards a game. They haven't played anyone, but is Miami really anyone? So Amendola is about the only person you want to play in Miami as a Miami wide receiver. Now, you only want to play him in probably deeper leagues. I would say 14-team leagues as a flex. I wouldn't even want to play him in a 12-team league, PPR. He gets what? Maybe 6 catches, 70 catches, maybe 60 yards. That's all, really? I don't know. That's cool. That's great. I can't guarantee you that. Going up against this defense. Now, Devontae Parker, it might be a sneaky play. And if you do dailies that one game, Devontae Parker is a sneaky play for the simple fact is, if you piss their coach off, Gase, he will trade you. Ask Ajayi. So Devontae Parker and his agent has basically pissed the coach off to the nth degree. So the fact that he's playing this game, they're probably going to pepper him with targets just to showcase him so he can be traded. They do no longer want him on the team. So he's an interesting play, but this is Thursday Night Football, so let me give you a scenario where things go nuts. First player, Miami player of the game, not first. The second player of the game, fake handoff to Kenyon Drake. Grant goes deep for a 70-yard touchdown. That's the way Thursday Night Footballs have been going. Football games have been going. So this game seems like it's destined for a one-way street, a one-way blowout type thing. But Miami's pass defense is good enough to keep them in the game, and Lamar Miller himself, just to keep Miami in the game. It's weird. Now, one player to watch in this game, though, if you have rosters or you're in leagues where you can add a player and then drop him after he's played, so long as he's on your bench, add Gesicki, the tight end, because he's played a lot lately with Brock Osweiler. He's getting about 3 catches a game now. I liked him, his skill set, big body, tight end. I really think they should use him more. So if you have a spot where you can stash him and let him go if he does nothing, or if he doesn't increase his production, that's a guy I would pay attention to. This has been the Fantasy Backpack. Start, sit, let's go.